I would say what I enjoy most about real estate is the freedom that it brings you. Obviously, you can set your family up in a really nice way. My mom has done a really good job. I'm a second generation real estate entrepreneur, so my mom has done a really good job. She's got a massive portfolio. She was a single mother, had me at 18, had my sister at 21, right? So we were super poor growing up until we weren't. Like when I turned like 15, 16, that's when my mom first started to run into money, which she saw the fruits of her investments in real estate. So she started investing prior to 2008, right? She could walk into the bank and say, hey, I make $300,000, and she would get a loan. Like today, things are different because the government and society learned from that 2008 crash. So now you have to have W-2s, all these things. So she was able to get started that way and take that risk and make it through 2008 in such a cool way. But she just wanted a better life for us, and she also wanted freedom to be there for us because, like in the 9 to 5, as you know, like
you're stuck.
the kids are going to daycare or whatever the case may be. So she got started there, and then seeing what she did and just the cash flow that she was creating and the net worth, it was like a no-brainer for me. It was like, okay, I'm jumping right in. So I really want to provide that for my kids. I want my kids to go to like a really good private school, either Gulliver or Ransom. I love the freedom it brings and just the ease of life that it creates.
The opportunities. I think that's the best thing about real estate, like just the opportunity itself.
100%. You can make so much money so quickly. Like I just said, I made $600,000 in 6 months.
That's crazy.
It's a luxury flip. It's a single family home in Madison, Wisconsin, right on the lake. So it was crazy because the owner was we're filming, just so you know. The owner was a gentleman from Arizona. He was some executive, and in Wisconsin it snows. This place had a flat roof, right? So he's in Arizona, not in Wisconsin. Can't take the snow off the flat roof, so it's just sitting there all winter, weighing down the flat roof, melting and leaking. The house was 3 stories, so the water was going from the top floor all the way down to the bottom floor. So it went through 2 floors. So everybody was, like mold, all this stuff, right? So everybody's afraid to purchase this property. We bought it for $925. Put a loan on it, put like 25% down.
And that was like on the market?
On the market. It was on the market for a long time. I've never bought an off-market deal now that you mention that.
Oh, really?
Never.
Wow.
Dude, I'm lazy. Like, I don't want to go do all that marketing stuff out there. Like, I would rather just go find the opportunity because you know that these people want to sell. So,
exactly.
Like, let's hit them. Mm-hmm. Whereas a lot of people are like, oh, everything on market's a bad deal because everybody can see it. No, you got to create that opportunity. It's your job. Like, when you buy a property and rent it out, like, it's your job to increase the rents and decrease the expenses. Mm-hmm. That's how you build the value in the properties. So I would say it's the same thing. Is like, I'm lazy. I just go to the MLS and type it in.
That's crazy. And then like when you bought that one, you put like how much in down payment?
So $925, put 25% down, so finance the rest.
Okay.
And then.
But did you apply? Like, did the house qualify for financing? Like, what type of loan did you got? Because it had like a leaking roof and shit.
Dude, loans are way different in the Midwest.
Really? How so?
Well, my mom has such good connections, first and foremost. So my mom was my partner on that deal. She has such good connections, dude. Like, it's so easy for her to get loans. Like, the market is just so much different up there, right? So she's getting a ton of seller financing. The banks love her because they have so much property she has so much property with them. So yes, we had a leg up in that and leveraging that relationship with the lender. But yeah, so it qualified. We put like $300,000 into it, but it's all on my Instagram. Like, we tore apart the walls. We had mold remediation in there. We put on new railings. We put on a new deck tech, like our new roof surface. Sold it for $1.9 million.
And how much?
6 months later, bro.
6 months? Damn.
$100K a month.
And how much was the rehab?
300. I think 300, give or take, or something.
And how long did it took you to do the rehab?
I lived there. So the interesting thing about me is I actually live at a lot of the properties while I'm rehabbing them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I lived at that property because it saves me money. It saves me a lot of money. So the house was so big, too. I was living on the top floor. And all the upstairs renovations were exterior. So it was like the roof, like it was outside. think of like a walkout roof, and it's like a big patio, but on the third floor.
Nice.
So they were doing the renovations there, and then downstairs. I was living upstairs. So yeah, like dust and stuff, probably not the best for my health, but manageable, right? It was a huge house. It was like 4,500 square feet.
Hey, for 600K, I'll leave there.
I'll do anything. anything for 600K. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that we did that, and then, yeah, that's where I really realized like the value of real estate. It was like, wow.
And are you investing now here in Florida?
So I just bought this in October. I don't have any other properties here right now. I really want to, I love this neighborhood, bro. Everybody's super wealthy. They're all older. Like I'm the youngest by like 30 years, but like I'm out doing door hangers and I'm meeting the CEO or president of Burger King. You got the gentleman right across the street is the head of neuroscience at University of Miami. Like these are all like high quality, super professional people. You got attorneys in here doing all sorts of stuff. So like the capital is rampant, right? Like if I need investors, right here, all of them. You know what I mean? Awesome. And I door knock, I do door hangers, and I put them in my CRM, so I have all their contact information. So
what do you do? Like you door knock, and what do you tell them?
So I don't really. I do door hangers more so, right? So I do a door hanger without knocking on the door most of the time. Then I cold call. So they see my face on the door hanger. Then I cold call them. My script is, hey, I'm a neighbor in Coral Gables looking for the owner of so-and-so property. They respond like, because it might sound like something's wrong, right? Like is the property on fire? You know what I mean? So then they respond. Now, when they respond, I say, I'm not trying to close anything or do anything at that point, right? I'm simply trying to get their phone number and put it in my CRM.
Well, why?
Because I can contact them. Just let me get there. So I ask them if they want to sell. They say no. Put the phone number in my CRM. 2 days ago, I did a video saying, breaking down the price point square footage for this entire neighborhood. So I made a YouTube video, texted it to all of them, right? So now they're getting my door hangers. Now they're getting my cold calls. I have their cell phone number and I can reach out to them whenever I want, right? So those three forms of, and then I have parties every month. I have a party here every month. So some of them come to the parties, right? So like just the repetitive, them seeing my face over and over and over again like that is going to do wonders. So they double as investors. I hope I can sell their property, like whenever they choose to sell. If they're looking to buy, a lot of them have kids and they're trying to like buy property for their kids or whatever. Like I want to be their realtor. I want to be their investment advisor on the real estate side. So like that's kind of my goal.
Yeah, like building that, how do you say, like building that trust and that relationship is what's gonna give you.
Yes.
Results.
Real estate for me is long term, right? Because it's like, you know, like you went to Vegas to learn from a gentleman, and then you came back here and you partnered with somebody, right? Like those are relationships. He might not be your partner anymore, but that's a relationship that you have for the rest of your life. Yeah, so like relationships never go away. So I'm not too short term on any of the things because I understand like real estate's a long game, right? A lot of people want to own multiple properties and all those things.
It's about like the delayed gratification, I would say. But it's funny because the younger you are, the least you want delayed gratification. Like, I don't know if you think that way, but young people like me, like you're young, like we like that instant gratification. We don't like the delayed gratification. And having that mind shift or that mindset shift is what's gonna help you in the long run because like you're young, right? And then like if you start investing now and just think long term, like real estate is, then that's gonna give you results. But if you just think that instant gratification, then that's when.
Do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
Of course, bro.
Okay, so with this podcast, for example, right? You're the 13th episode. If I do 5 episodes a week, it's going to take me 20 weeks to reach 100 episodes. The amount that I've changed in the first 12 episodes as just a speaker, my confidence, my like lowering my stuttering, all those good things, right? Mm-hmm. It's all great, but I'm expecting zero return or zero benefit or anything from this podcast for 5 years, bro. So Alex Hormozy always talks about the longer you can wait without money, the greater the returns will be.
Exactly.
And like me, for example, I don't know about your situation. You can talk on it in a second, but like all of my equity, like I live so cash poor. All of my money is in property. Every penny I get goes straight to property. Nice. because I'm delaying gratification. I don't want to have access to that cash. I don't want to spend it.
And you don't need it either.
Yeah, I mean, it's tight, like, right? Like, because I'm always looking for the next deal. So I quick gather up my cash, put it in a pile, and then I'm like, next deal. And then I'm like, oh, darn, like I'm barely making things work again. You know what I mean?
But I think that's awesome, bro. Like, I think that's good. And the younger you are, the more risk that you have to take and the least importance you have to give to, you know, like just playing it safe, I would say. Maybe that's not the best advice for anyone, you know, watching this right now, but
Hear this out, though. So I've thought about this a lot, and I know a lot of other people talk about it. Imagine if I took $250,000 out of one of my properties and invested that in meeting better and new people and building my, like, let's say I put $250,000 of advertising behind my social media accounts. Imagine how much that would grow, right? Imagine what that would unlock. Imagine who I would be able to meet from that. So there's a very fine line of delaying gratification too much, which I think I might be victim of that right now. Like, hey, should I sell some property, take some money out and put it in here to grow faster? Like, you know what I mean? Like the balance is like I'm 100%, no question in my mind, going to die multi-millionaire because of the properties that I have. Right. But would it accelerate my growth currently in today, in the timing of now?
But it depends on what you want. At least for me, like my perspective of the world is that, like Hermosi says, like I agree with him on what his perspective is, which is like nothing matters. We're gonna die anyway, so you might as well do whatever the fuck you want to do. And I don't know if I can curse or
yeah, you're cursing. You're good.
But my point is that I literally just, of course, I want delayed gratification and you know all that, but at the same time, I really do what I want to do, you know. And if I feel that, I don't know, like spending $100,000 on like meeting this great entrepreneur or whatever, I'll do it because I'm like, fuck it, like what's the worst thing that could happen? I lost 100K, but I'm 22 years old. I'm gonna make that money anyway. 100%,
so 100%.
So it's, you know, like,
once you figure out the game, the money's not the problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, once you figure out how to make money, you can always recreate that. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue to make it back.
Exactly. And you know what? Something funny that I want to mention. So you just mentioned what happens if I take out like 250K from my properties and then I invest in marketing and that way I can meet like new people or whatever. Like, think about this. I mean, I can go through the exact story of how I learned investing or whatever, but like the guy that taught me how to invest, like I learned from him, right? And a year later, my partner and I did exactly $192,000. You know, so I was like, I spent probably like $10,000-$15,000 like being in Vegas, and that made me $292,000 in a year. So I'm like, I think I should do this more.
The ROI was crazy.
Exactly. That's the thing. So imagine if you can spend like $250,000. Maybe it's not like you have to spend them at once, but maybe you can
over time, or meet a person here, meet a person there, market here.
Or bro, like imagine if you take like, I don't know, like let's say 3 months off like doing your thing, and you move to another place, you know, and you just focus on learning and you just focus on getting to know the best entrepreneurs on that city, and then basically you work on how to get them, be your friends, and teach you what they know. That $250,000 that you spend those 3 months, maybe is gonna make you like $1 million in a year.
Exactly.
Because of what they're gonna teach you.
Exactly.
And that type of risk, you can only take that now when you're young, because when you have like kids,
different.
And like when you have bigger responsibilities, you can't do that. And I really enjoy that, and I really take advantage of that. And bro, I take a bunch of risk, and like to this day, I don't really give a fuck if I like go bankrupt or anything, because like at least I know that I'm trying and I'm doing my best.
Making progress.
Exactly. And like,
dude, being still and not making progress is like the biggest enemy ever. Cause like everybody gets comfortable. They're like, oh, I got 50K in the bank, I'm fine. Like, let's just stay here, stay in my 9 to 5. Like, bro, that's death right there.
Yeah, and it's boring.
100%.
You know, like I think that I'm optimizing for having fun. You know, like, to be honest, like that's what I'm optimizing for. I'm not optimizing for money, because if I were, I'm just focusing on how can I get better deals and make more money out of the deals, which, yes, that's good. And of course, you know, that's not a bad idea. But at the same time, I'm like, how can I have more fun and try better things, and then like hire people that are with me on this trip, and I think that's gonna be fun. And when I'm 80, 90 years old and I'm about to die, I'm gonna think about, like I really enjoyed how I took risk. I don't want, like, I think I right now I don't think I have like too many fears, but I think like my only fear will be being almost dead on my deathbed and thinking like, damn, if I would have tried this or tried that. I think that's like
Bro,
the biggest fear.
So you just talked about reading. I read this book in the military. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. Right? And do you know Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah.
So Gary V always talks about go to an old folks home and talk to those people and ask them what they regret. Like regret is like the biggest poison of all time, because time you never get back. So when you're 80 and you didn't try to develop that property, develop that 70-story property, or whatever the case, whatever your goals are, right? Like you can never get that back. Like you get one shot at this. So why not go bankrupt trying to achieve those goals?
Exactly.
1,000%.
You know who is Stephen Schwarzman?
Yeah, absolutely. Blackstone.
Yeah. So I'm reading his book right now, and
Wait. Which book?
What It Takes.
Bro, that book is the book that made me join the military.
Oh, really?
He joined the military. So he's a track runner. He was in the military. Every book that I read, all of these people were in the military. Every single successful person that is of that generation, because that was back when the wars were going on. Right now it's a little bit different, right? But they were all in the military, and that book, I remember it's on the left. I don't know what page it is, but when he talks about the military, it's on the left side of the book, lower quarter of the page.
Bro, it's funny because I'm reading that book right now.
Great. That book is amazing, bro. That book is amazing.
And for me, it's crazy because like he says something in the book that I already believe in that before reading the book. And once I read the book, I was like mind blown. And he says that like no matter what you do in life, it's gonna be difficult. Like so you might as well try your best to do the biggest thing possible. And before, my vision in business, at least, right, was like I want to flip a bunch of houses and invest here, invest there, and try to, I don't know, let's say I will try to have $100 million net worth, right? That was before. But while reading the book, I'm like, why would I settle for 100 million when this guy is worth $40 billion, And I'm 22 years old, and I'm not saying that if I don't accomplish my big vision, I'm gonna be like regretful or anything like that. But I might as well try to have.
You have to aim for that. If you miss 100 million, or if you miss a billion, or what'd you say, a billion or 100 billion?
Yeah, a billion.
Okay, so if you miss a billion, dude,
you're gonna be close.
You're still so wealthy.
Exactly,
like you're way up there.
So it's crazy because I like how he puts that perspective of like no matter what you do, it's gonna be hard. So you might as well shoot for the high, like the most, like the biggest vision possible. But let me ask you. You mentioned about the military. What do you think all those guys have in common? That
discipline.
Discipline,
bro. Crazy.
And
it was the greatest thing I ever did, and I wish I joined at 18.
Really?
Not the greatest thing I ever did, but it's up there.
But how is it? Like, what do you learn? What's the craziest thing? Like, how do you change?
Bro,
like,
imagine being stripped of like all decisions. You feel like you're in prison, going through that, wanting to quit every day, watching like the first week. You're standing out there for 12 to 14 hours a day, like can't smile, can't look at anyone, can't talk to anyone, freezing. I went in February. It's like freezing. So it's just like the discipline.
How old were you?
Huh?
How old were you?
I just got out, so I was 26 when I went in.
Wow. So you like, let me understand this, right? So you were investing over in Wisconsin, right? So you didn't really need to go to the military. Like,
no, but they all went to the military, bro. Every successful person, Steven, all of them, they all went to the freaking military. Every book that I read, military this, military that, military this. I'm like, God damn, there must be something about the freaking military. Then you go get a military contract. My neighbor's 2 streets down. He has a military contracts, by the way. Mad money. Like I'm talking, like these are big operations, right? So this guy 2 streets up, he shows me a picture on his phone with President Obama. I'm like, all right. I'm out putting my hangers out. So when I'm out here, I meet my neighbors, right? I talk to them. I want them to know who I am. So he's like, hey, this is really like out of pocket for me, but you seem like a great guy. You live in the neighborhood. I have kids. You seem energetic. I'm going to share this with you. So it pulls out a picture with the President Obama. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Where is this going? He's like, oh, by the way, I have a military contract. I'm like, military contract? What kind? Like, what are you doing? He does landing gear for all of the planes. I don't know to what extent. He didn't go too deep into depth, but Homestead Air Base is down here. Mm-hmm. So my assumption is that I don't know if it's for the Army, the Air Force, what branch, but he fixes or replaces or maintains all the landing gear for all those planes. Now, nice. In Texas right now, I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on exact numbers, but it's around like a $2 billion mandatory spend that the military has for new buildings, right? So if you're in the development space and you really want to get into development, one thing that you could do is join the military, serve. That's going to increase your chances of being selected to do military projects. Because if you're military, of course, like, right, you're going to be a lot higher chance than somebody that isn't military or that's just civilian.
Of course.
So a lot of developers or construction people will join the military, head straight to Texas, and try to bid on these contracts. Because once you get your foot in the door, bro, you print money. Like, they're always doing something. Like,
that's a thing. Like bro, people get into the military to then get contracts.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. So I have a VA guy in one of my properties right now in Madison, Wisconsin. I get a check from the government. He lives for free. Well, not for free. He's in the military. So, like, he's in the military, but they pay me directly. They pay me a pretty large sum, like quite a bit over market, I would say. And that really got me interested because I had to sign up on, it's like sam.gov. That's the website where you go and bid for all these contracts. So in Miami, there's military contracts that you can bid for. Like the Army, for example, was looking for a recruiting office in like Fort Lauderdale or Hollandale or something. A little too far for me, right? But I looked at that and I'm like, wow, anybody can bid on this. What you have to do is you have to go find a property that would fit their criteria, share with them the price per square foot and break it down and all this stuff, right? So you present your bid and then if you're chosen, you get paid. But there's bigger contracts than that. Like that's just one little like property that they're looking for. But let's say they need 16 warehouses built with a budget of $20 million in Texas. Like you're going to make some insane amount of money.
But as a realtor or as a developer?
That'd be development, just for example.
So they are looking for 16 warehouses, and then you present them like, hey, like I'm gonna build them for you, like this.
Yeah, you submit your bid. You'd be like, I'll build it for X amount. I have these connections. I served in the military. You're loaded, bro.
And how long were you in the military?
I'm still in. So I signed a 6-year contract, but I was in training for 5.5 months.
Nice. So you were 5.5 months there, training.
Yeah.
And now what does it mean, 6-year or 5-year contract? Like,
so being in the reserves, like there's different branches, right? So there's Air Force, there's Army, there's Navy, all this stuff, right? So I chose the Army. Now 6 years for that. What that means is at 1 weekend a month, I go to like Homestead and I do a training. So some people fly from all over the country. Like we have people from Massachusetts, we have people from Ohio. Like our unit's pretty cool. We're airborne. So we like jump out of planes. There's not many reserve units in the United States that do that. So thankfully, like it's close to home for me. It's a 30-minute drive. I go from like 7 a.m. to like 4 p.m. and then I drive home, I sleep, and then I go the next day. 1 weekend a month. And that's kind of the extent. But all these military guys are like, a lot of them are doctors, for example.
Really?
Like, yeah, because the military pays for their education. So like in our case, like in this entrepreneurial case, like you said, you don't have a degree, right? But when you're like 60 years old, you've been in the military for such a long time, you can take 2 classes a semester and just finish your degree. Like, why not? Like, you know what I mean? So it's a really cool environment to be a part of, man. It's like, I really enjoy it. I'm super thankful that I did it. I wish I did it when I was 18 because I feel like the discipline, the commitment, the benefits, just all this other stuff.
That's
like
crazy.
It all ties in, bro. It is so cool. 3 episodes ago, I would say, I had my recruiter on, and we talked all the military stuff. It was a lot of fun. All right, so you want to dive into a little bit about you and who you are and how you got started in real estate and all those good things?
Yeah, let's do it. So I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I'm proud of that. But I don't know how exactly, but when I was like, I don't know, like 12 to 13 year old, I started watching HGTV. Programs like a lot of people have seen that, and I saw this guy is buying a property for 100,000, putting 30,000 into it, and then selling like 250. And I was like, that's not like really is that simple. Like they just made a 70K profit, and that's what my mom does in 3 years.
Exactly.
So I'm like I think that makes a lot of sense. And but at the same time, I didn't knew anyone, at least in Puerto Rico, doing that. So it was like I knew that was possible, but I really didn't like try to learn. I was like 13 years old, so but I always thought about that a lot. Like I was like, that's possible. And then when I was in high school, the traditional path of everyone is high school, college, and then work on 9 to 5. So that's what I was going towards. I graduated high school, then I went to college in Puerto Rico, in Mayagüez is the city that I was in college. I was 3 years in when my fourth year was about to start, and I really wanted a change. Like I felt that those 3 years in college, I don't know about you, but I can't feel that I'm the same person every year. Like I need to feel that I'm learning and that I'm improving. And those 3 years in Puerto Rico, in college specifically, I literally felt that I was the same person.
Sure.
And I felt that in some type of way, I was stuck for 3 years doing nothing. Of course, I was in college and I was closer to graduating. But like me personally, I really didn't feel that I was a better person. Yes, I learned new skills because I have to pass this class to then enroll in this one and then pass that one. So technically I was smarter, but at the same time I didn't feel any different. And I knew back in my mind that my real goal was investing in real estate. But that was too risky. I didn't know anyone. I didn't thought it was possible, or at least I thought that I had to get a job first and save a bunch of money to start investing. That was my mindset. So I was like, I have to graduate, I have to make a bunch of money, and then I can start. That was my mindset then. But at the same time, I felt stuck for those 3 years. So when my fourth year was about to start, I wanted a change. And for me, a change was that I applied to I applied to an exchange program to go to FIU here in Miami. Why? Because I don't know, like I wanted to go to a place where I can find more opportunities, but I really like Miami because I knew there was a bunch of Latin people, and I really, really, really enjoy my culture and being a Latino. So I knew that I couldn't be in a place where there weren't more people that I can resonate with, So I was like, okay, Miami is a place,
So this brings up an interesting point. So when I was in the military, I would say about half the people I were with were Puerto Rican, right?
By the way, where was that?
Fort
training?
Fort South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina, okay.
So I understand that the military has a big presence there, but asking them about the island in and of itself, they said that there wasn't that much opportunity there, and that you work quite a bit for a low wage. So can you dive into, I guess, some of the struggles or some of the constraints that you had in Puerto Rico?
Bro, something that I really enjoy about Miami, and I mean, I can talk about Miami because it's where I live, but I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of places like that in USA, right? Is that people want to collaborate and they're not selfish. Like by us doing this, like we are collaborating, and there's a bunch of opportunity like this here in Miami. In Puerto Rico, I think that people are more like gatekeepers in some type of way, and also the government there is, they're very corrupt, they are, I mean, they are very corrupt. But basically, to answer your question, there's not much opportunity, like I think that here in USA, if you really want to do something, like if you really want to be a realtor, real estate entrepreneur, a doctor, a lawyer, like whatever it is that you want to do, you can really do it. Like if you really put your mind into it and you put your time into it, no matter how wealthy or poor you are, you can really do it. But in Puerto Rico, it felt different. It felt that there was not much opportunity. The government didn't help people that much. The jobs weren't paying enough, but they couldn't pay you more, because like that's the market there, companies there in Puerto Rico, they don't make a bunch of money, so they can't pay you a bunch of money. So you were stuck. Like the average income in Puerto Rico is probably like, I don't know, like 30,000 maybe, I think.
And that's
Probably.
after what, like 4 years of college?
I mean, like, for example, I think this was one of the main things that made me think that I wanted to get out of Puerto Rico. I mean, before saying this, I'm not saying that Puerto Rico is a bad place or anything like that, but for my goals, which is real estate, it made much sense going here to Miami. But if you want to be like, I don't know, but there might be other things that you want to do that Puerto Rico made sense to be living there. But at least for me, what made a lot of sense was moving here. But to give you an example, I had when I was in college in Mayagüez, that was considered like the best college in Puerto Rico. And specifically, the mechanical engineering program there was like the most prestigious in all of Central America or the Caribbean. And I had a cousin that graduated from mechanical engineering, which is like the highest level. It's like graduating from Harvard, in Puerto Rico. And when he graduated, I remember that I talked to him and was like, bro, like, can you tell me like what the job offers are coming in at? I was thinking that he was like at least 100K per month, right? Because you just graduated from the most prestigious college in Puerto Rico. And he told me, bro, the best one that I got is $12 an hour. So I don't know, like if you make the math.
$12 an hour?
And I remember watching him like hustling in college, because he was in the toughest program, and I know that he was busting his balls to study and graduated, and he was really, really, really smart. He was like, I still consider him way smarter than me, and I was like, damn, like if this dude, like he basically stopped everything that he was doing for at least 5 years to study and graduate, and all he got is $12 an hour. Fuck that! Like I'm not gonna be like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna find a way to make more money. And it's not that I'm money driven, but like when you have money, you have more resources, and when you have more resources, life is easier, and you can do more things and accomplish your dreams. And when you accomplish your dreams, you can help more people. That's how I see money.
100%.
And even more now that I'm young. So yeah. So at that time, that happened.
How much is school? Like, how did he have debt? Was it paid for by the government? Like, what's the schooling like over there?
Actually, it's way cheaper.
It's cheaper.
Yeah, it's
So
cheaper.
schooling's cheaper, but the starting salary is cheaper too.
Mm-hmm. And everything there is just cheaper. It's like that. But and Puerto Rico is very small. Like it's 100 miles. It's 100 miles by 35. So it's like it's a small place.
So when I moved here, for example, we're as far south in America as you can get, essentially. Maybe you can go to Texas or California and be right by the Mexico border. But looking at like Key Biscayne, for example, you know where Key Biscayne is? Mm-hmm. Or like the Florida Keys. I always wondered what it would be like to live on an island where, like, I feel like I would feel trapped.
I mean, it doesn't feel like that.
No.
It really doesn't. I mean, here you can literally drive anywhere in the United States, but there in Puerto Rico, like besides all that, like business-wise, Puerto Rico is the worst place. I would say, But even then, like my dream would be to retire there because it's a beautiful island, bro. Like it's crazy, and the people, the culture, the food, everything there is amazing, and it's an island, and you can drive no matter where you are in the island. You can drive 30 minutes, and you're gonna be like you can see water.
Sure.
And it's beautiful. Like everywhere is beautiful. It's nice. People are great, and it's a nice place to be around. It's a nice place to vacation. Have you gone there?
I have not, and I really want to go, but
bro.
Like, yeah, what is it like when a hurricane comes?
Bro, I mean, it's funny because, of course, we are in a very vulnerable spot for hurricanes. And the biggest hurricane that we had was like early 1900s. But in 2017, in 2017, we had this hurricane warning. Like always, like every year we have a hurricane warning, and every year the same thing happened. The hurricane was about to hit the island, and then
it goes around.
He made a crossover, and he was and we were used to that, And there was a point where we had hurricane warnings, and we were like, yeah, whatever. Like we know that nothing's gonna happen. But bro, in 2017, the biggest hurricane to ever hit the island like straight to the middle, and that was the craziest. Like I think that's one of the. It's not one of the. It's the craziest experiences in my life that I had, because bro, I literally thought that I was gonna. I mean, I didn't thought that I was gonna die, but I thought that there were many dead people in Puerto Rico, because, bro, it was the craziest shit ever. If you think about what are the strongest things in Earth, like if you can think right now, like
Mother Nature.
exactly, right? So it's not until you see that shit in real life and you're like, bro, like I can die very easily right now.
Nobody can control it either.
Nobody
right?
can
Like, nobody can
control
stop.
it.
Like typically you can like maybe stop something, or like a fire you can put on water to like put it out, unless it's a forest fire. But yeah, I understand where you're going.
And it's something that you haven't seen in your entire life, you know, like you don't know what to expect, because the storm got like
The unknown is a very scary thing.
exactly. And then the thing is that, like I mentioned, we weren't used to that, and then like the storm got stronger like minute by minute, you know. And I remember that I was at a apartment, like it was like the 7th floor, which is not recommended.
Yeah, you don't want to be up there. Yeah.
But like I mentioned, we weren't used to hurricanes happening. So me, my mom, and my uncle, my aunt, we were in their apartment, just chilling, you know. And then like every minute, like we were hitting the wind, and we were seeing like a storm, you know. And shit got stronger minute by minute. And then, bro, there was a point where, like, imagine you are here right now, right? And even with the impact windows and shit, you're here, and then you see the storm, and then all of the sudden the pressure of the wind like make the windows explode, and it sounded like a fucking explosion. And I was at the apartment, and I was like, we're gonna die, you know.
I got goosebumps from that's crazy.
Bro, it was crazy. And then the thing is that because we were so high at the apartment, we couldn't stay there. Plus, the apartment was flooding as well. So, bro, it was like a fucking movie. I was like, I remember that I had such a bad experience that all I could think about was that, damn, like my grandma is in her house. What is she doing? And I wasn't with my dad and with my brother, so I was like, what are they doing? Like, are they okay? You know, because like at least my experience was so bad, and bro, like it was crazy. And then we had to go out of the apartment and go through the exit stairs, like downstairs. And bro, it was fucking crazy. Like it was the scariest shit I saw in my life. And it's like, bro, imagine being in the middle of a tornado, you know, like it was like that. And it was like thanks to a neighbor that was living like, basically we were at the apartment building. We went down and we crossed the street to a house that we knew the neighbor. And that's when we could like settle down, you know. But it was a crazy thing. Like my uncle and my aunt, they lost everything in their house because the house got flooded or things were fucking flying around the house. So yeah, that was the experience. And then Puerto Rico, like bro, that was a September, right? All of Puerto Rico had the power, like power went off on the island, and we got power back on December. So we were from September to December without lights.
3 months,
power.
4 months, whatever.
So,
oh my.
So living like that was crazy at the beginning. Like it was a very like stressful thing, but at the same time, it was a great experience.
It makes you appreciate,
bro,
electricity.
And bro, it was funny because we had no internet, right? The gas prices were stupid, so it didn't even make sense to use your car. So I remember that at that time I was older. I was like 16 or 17, and bro, like we were still hanging out. So we were going in bicycles to bars, and then like the guys at the bar, they had like ice, and that way they could serve our drinks. But it was an awesome experience because we didn't have internet. So
kind of disconnected for a little bit. You get to go back to like life before the internet.
Exactly,
right?
and it was crazy because at that time we literally went, like it felt like being back as a child. You know, like it was like going back 10 years because at that time, if I wanted to talk to someone, I couldn't call them because there was no no power or whatever. So I had to knock on the door and say, hey, what's up? What you guys doing? And then it was awesome. Like, of course, at the day of the hurricane was the most traumatic experience that we experienced as a country, as the island. But at the same time, like the aftermath, like people were helping each other. People that had like generators help those that didn't, and it got the community way closer. And things like that is what makes Puerto Ricans so together. Like we
struggle. You always come together during struggle.
Exactly.
Every time.
Exactly.
What you just said reminds me a lot of my military experience because I didn't have my phone. I got my phone for 1 hour on the weekend to talk to my girlfriend, but otherwise, like, you don't have a phone, you're not connected to the news, you don't know what's happening out in the world, you're just kind of free flowing. And it's honestly, it was a little bit of a relief. Like, it takes a lot of pressure off. I don't know, it's just really good. So having that experience and knowing how social media affects humans and all these different things, it's very eye-opening, and I think it also makes you appreciate the little things in life, the things that really matter, your loved ones, the little experiences that you talked about. Like, that's so crazy. The other point that I wanted to touch on, in the Midwest, where I'm from, Wisconsin, all the power lines are underground. So there's no power lines above ground. Now, you would think that being in a hurricane-prone area, even Miami, for example, like in Coral Gables right now, they're talking about putting all the power lines underground because they haven't yet. To me, it's insane that they're not already underground. Right? Like if the North has that technology, or if they have figured that out, and we don't even have hurricanes, we don't really even have tornadoes up in Wisconsin, like a couple here and there, but not like the tornado belt or whatever. But like, why are these not underground? Like, why is the infrastructure not set in? Because it's more expensive. It's way more expensive to put line underground because you got to dig it and you got to put, I don't know, the conduit and all that stuff under there. So it's a lot more expensive, but it's the right thing. So like Coral Gables is just coming to fruition. Like, hey, we should probably put these underground. So I hope that happens in the near future. I think the South needs to get on board with that. I don't know if that's just a Miami thing and a Puerto Rico thing, or if it's the rest of Florida and the rest of the South. I don't know. But
that's crazy. Now that I think about it, it's crazy that they haven't done that before, right?
Crazy, bro. Like it's
a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but I guess they just don't want to invest in that.
Exactly. They just want to kick the can down the road, I guess. But this brings us into a good segue, I think. You talked about going back to your childhood, right? You were like, oh, it kind of took me back to when I was a child. What did you do when you were a child in Puerto Rico, or what fond memories, exciting experiences do you have to share with us?
Bro, like we were talking about before the podcast, I really enjoyed just gathering around with my friends playing video games. It was a experience that brought everyone in the neighborhood together. That's the first thing. And second, it was really fun. It was really competitive. And I remember that when we started playing Call of Duty specifically, that was like our favorite game. When I started, I suck at it. Like I was bad at it. Like everyone was killing me, and that brought some insecurity in me at that time. I was like, shit, like everyone was beating me on this game. And then I bought the game because usually we went to a friend's house that he had the game, so we all played there. And I basically cried to my mom so she could like bought me the game. So she bought me the game, and I was spending too much time trying to get better so I can beat my friends. But at the same time, it was great, like it was something that really got us together as in the neighborhood or my friends. We were like 8 years old, 9, 10, 7, like that was like when we were more playing that game. And that's probably one of the best experiences that I had, like we were really together, and we were just enjoying the moment as kids, and we could be like 6 hours playing and we didn't care about anything. We were just like playing and having fun. And yeah.
Dude, video games, I mean, for me too, brought me and all my friends so close. Like, we would all just sit in my basement. Like, my mom or my grandma would be making pizzas. We'd be like, give us a pizza. And she would like, pizza's ready. And there'd be like 4 pizzas coming down. My mom owned a vending machine business at one point, and we bought candy in bulk. right? Because she had to fill these vending machines. I'm talking like so much candy. Like we could go in our basement and swim in the candy. So we would just be pounding candy, pizzas, like chilling in the basement. So that was for Call of Duty. And then League of Legends came out. And then we started playing League of Legends. So like...
And let me ask you, you know, talking about like big events in the past years, when COVID hit, were you playing video games still with your friends online?
I wasn't, dude. I wasn't. So during COVID, I moved from Wisconsin down to Miami. And Miami, were you here for COVID?
No.
Okay.
I was in Puerto Rico.
So Miami was pretty open. And me being a realtor, I had to restart my business, right? I took all the contacts I knew up there. I still have them, but like, I'm not going to go up there and sell their real estate, for example. So I'm like grinding, trying to get my foot and my foothold down in this market here. This is an interesting topic, brother. I was crushing real estate in Wisconsin, like doing very well. I was like the only agent below 30. Like we had a team. If you were like under 30 years old in Wisconsin and you were looking for a realtor, like you were using me 100% because there were no other realtors that were young and could connect with you. So I would help a lot of people that got hired at this company called Epic. And it's basically a healthcare company in Madison. So I would help all their people. They got a great starting salary. The properties in Wisconsin were affordable, right? $300,000-$400,000 will get you a nice home. Going from having what I had up there to nothing to restarting down here after I had already built that up.
But why did you move to Miami?
Because I knew I was never going to be happy up there in Wisconsin long term.
Why?
Cold. It's so cold, bro. And the economy, like, it's not, like, it's a great place. And it's an amazing place to have a family. But I always wanted, like, that bigger city life. Like, I always wanted, like, to be dominant in a big market, in a wealthy neighborhood or a wealthy market, for example. Like, I just wanted the biggest that I could go.
Nice.
To that extent, kind of. So that's why I moved down here. But, man, when you go from having this great business to having to restart, it is so eye-opening because it strips you of everything that you used to know and you got to rebuild and do it again.
And how do you do it?
I mean, doing what I'm doing in this neighborhood, which I talked about, was like door hangers, calling, all those things. But it really, it's tough. It was tough. I'm excited that I did it. But okay, how do I put this? On the back end, when I become a very well-known realtor and big person in this market, right? It's going to be crazy because I have built it twice. I've not built it once, but I've built it twice. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited for that. I'm very excited to say I've built it twice because I'm going to have so much knowledge to pass on, right? Because I built it in one area and then I rebuilt it in another area. So it's going to be interesting. I'm excited for that process. There's always growth to be made, but such an interesting experience going from making probably $1 million a year down to like having no contacts. Crazy, bro. Like
that's crazy.
Crazy.
But if you think about it, it's just the same skill.
Same thing. Just building the connections.
Exactly.
Just building the connections.
But I think that's what life is about, you know, having that challenge. And if you can do it again, it's like a muscle, you know, you're training that muscle once again. And then I always think when I do something, like, how is this going to help me to achieve my goal in the future? Like, for example, if I'm raising money right now to do a deal that is probably like, I don't know, like, let's say I only need to raise $50,000, right? And maybe the deal is not going to make me rich, but I'm like, if I'm learning how to raise $50,000 now, when I want to do the big projects that I want to do in the future, it's going to be the same thing. It's just the same skill. It's just that
more money,
more serious. Exactly. Yeah. But it's the same thing. And I think that the sooner you can start building those skills, even if they don't make you money, the better for you. You know, like, you're going to train that muscle, and then money doesn't matter now that you're young. What matters most is the skill.
Experience.
But of course you have to have money.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so you said a couple interesting things there. Tell us exactly what you do and how you do it.
Awesome. So I can literally, like, in 3 minutes, I can literally walk you through my whole business.
Let's do it.
So let's start with the most obvious part. So I do fix and flips, which is buying a property, rehabbing it, sell it.
So you're a realtor?
No, I'm an investor.
Got it.
Because Actually, I passed my course. I haven't took the state exam, which I want to take. But I just buy properties at a lower price. I rehab them and then I sell them. Now in Miami, as you know, like houses are like, even distressed houses are like 300, 400. Let's say I have to put like 50, 60K into it.
Where are you getting a $300,000, $400,000 distressed property?
Well, for example, yesterday we just closed on one in Lauderdale Lakes.
Okay.
That one we bought at 310, and I gave an extra 9,000 to the agent. So the agent was representing the seller. He got 9,000 from the seller, and he got also 9,000 from me. So he made literally 18,000.
So you give the agents both sides of the commission.
Exactly. That way,
that's how you get deals.
That's how I get deals.
Love that. So all you agents out there listening, if you want double sides, and you got an investor right here.
Exactly. Like for example, this deal that we just closed yesterday, the purchase price was 310, but the agent, because I've been talking to him before, he knew that I was gonna let him represent me on the side, and that I was gonna take care of him. I was like, hey, dude, like if you bring me a deal, I'm gonna take care of you. And the purchase price was 310, and he made 18,000. Like I literally can share with you the closing statement so you can see it. And he made $18,000 of that, and he didn't do anything. He didn't even lease the property, because when he got the leasing agreement, he was like, hey, this house is, like it's a disaster. So if you can come in here and you give us this price, we just gonna
Did you buy it cash?
Exactly. Yeah, I bought it cash. Now here's the thing. If someone is looking at this podcast right now and it's like, yeah, I want to do that, but I don't have $310,000, $400,000 cash, what do I do? So that's something that I also do. Let's say, for example, this house was $310,000, and the rehab will be at least 65. So we're all in like 375, right? So there's two ways to approach this. First is buy them cash, or second is what we did in this case, which was having a private money lender. So these private money lenders are, hard money lenders. So these hard money lenders, what they do is basically they get a first lien position on the property, and they fund around like 80-90% of the purchase price plus 100% of the rehab. So all you have to come up with is 10 to 20% of the purchase price, and that way I only needed to came to 60K to the closing table. And then once the rehab was done and we sold the property, I paid them back, and I made, let's say I made like 40K. So I put 60K in, I made 40, so that's like a 60 something cash on cash return. But the point is that you don't have to have the money. How I started out, because I didn't even have that 60K to start out, what I did was I raised money. So let's say I go to you, right? Hey, Alec, can you lend me 60K? And let's do this project together. And then once we sell it, you get 50% of the profit, and I do 50%. So that's how I initially started. Like the first projects, I had zero money, but I brought a partner with me. And then he basically put all the money to do the project. I did everything on the back end. And once we sold the property, we spread the profits. And that's something that is easier to say, of course, but it's not that easy to actually do. But basically, when you spot these properties, like if they're good deals, there's a bunch of money waiting to be invested. You just have to put yourself out there, like doing podcasts like these ones, because I have investors that they lend me, I don't know, like let's say $300,000 to do a project, and they do nothing. They just literally sit around their home. They are at their 9 to 5 or whatever it is that they're doing. And 6 months later, I pay them back the 300 plus 10, 20%, depending on what the agreement is, and they do nothing. And they just made $40,000, $50,000 by basically they just trusted me with the project. And here's the thing, it's not that they trust me. Of course they trust me, doing this because of how many properties I've done. But it's just an obvious thing, because they see the property that I'm buying it at 300, and they know that in that area, the properties are selling for 500. So it's a no-brainer for them.
And you send that to them. You're like, hey, look, we can get this for 330 or whatever the case may be, but we're going to sell it for 600 or 700 or whatever.
Exactly.
And then they're like, oh, this makes sense.
And I just not like, it's not I tell them that I can sell it for 600. I showed them I'm like, hey, listen, this house, like literally next door, sold for 600,000, and this one, look at the contract, we have at 310. So of course we're gonna make this deal work. I mean, there's a bunch of things that could happen. You can lose money or whatever, but That's the best thing about real estate. At the same time, that is a business that is really easy to raise money, I would say. Because let's say that you have a marketing business and then you want to raise money from me. Like, I'm gonna be more skeptical because I don't know anything about the marketing business, and I'm like, hey, but what happens if things go south or whatever? But if you're raising money from me to buy a house that I see that it's worth way more than you're buying it for, I'm like, well, worst case, we're gonna sell the house, and because of that area, I know that I'm gonna get my money back. So that's what I do. Now, how do I do it? Like I mentioned before, I would say like 90% of the deals that I've made are agents that are calling me, or sorry, agents that I call or I contact them and I let them know like, hey, here's who I am, here's what I do. I usually offer, that part, that 6% commission because they're representing the seller, they represent me, so they get more money. And I also act fast, like whenever they send me something, like I try to at least 30 minutes give them the feedback. I'm not that type of buyer that you send them something and they don't respond to you or whatever. Like, that's the type of value that I provide. And let's say you send me a property, I give you my feedback, and if you think that the seller will like my offer or is close to that, then I will send someone there that same day, or I go myself. And if it makes sense, then we just put the property on the contract. And I just offer like an easy and fast process, which only works when the owner is in distress, I would say, or when there's a tough situation. Because if you're selling a nice house like this one, like, I'm not gonna be much of value because I'm an investor and I usually bring value when you have to move fast. But if you're the type of seller that is just waiting and see if he can get the most out of the property, and you're okay with being 6, 7, 8 months on the market, then I'm not your ideal buyer. But if you're that type of seller that you need to move fast, like next week, and you are racking up liens or something like that, then that's when I provide most value, because I can close in 1 week because I'm closing cash. I don't have to, wait for finance or anything like that. So agents know that, at least the agents that I've been in contact with. So whenever they come across a situation like that, they call me, and then I act fast, and then I buy the property. I put the property on the contract. I raise the money to do the whole project. Once the project is done, we sell it. Ideally, it takes up to 6 months. That's like the average is like 4 months, but I promise my investors 6 months just in case. And then once we close on the property, I pay them back, and basically we just keep doing the same thing. The goal is to do bigger deals. Right now, I've only done single family homes. I haven't done like multifamily or anything like that. That's the long-term goal.
Understood. So what would best help you right now in your business is if realtors would send you deals.
Yeah.
Got it. So realtors that are watching, it'd be helpful if you could send deals.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Awesome. Now, me as a realtor, I get messaged 17 times a day. Hey, I'm an investor. I'm buying cash. I'm ready to close quick. How are you standing out from all those other investors that are messaging people or realtors like that?
Well, first of all, there's a bunch of people saying that they're investors. But I guess the first thing is that you have to fact check that, because there's a bunch of people saying that they're investors, but they're not really investors. They're just saying that because they want you to give them deals. So the first thing that I do, I show them that I have a track record. And I've sent closing statements to people because they sometimes like they don't believe me or whatever. So I have to send them like things and documents so they can see that I'm doing this. So as an agent, I think that's the first thing that you should check, right? Like, you should screen whoever is your buyer. Like, is this buyer really is this buyer really serious? Like, can he really buy? Like, as an agent, right? Like, you vet buyers because you can
proof of funds.
Exactly. Proof of funds, for example. That's the most basic thing to ask for. Proof of funds or pre-approval, right? Because like you have someone moving from Wisconsin to Miami and they say that they want to buy, right? But you have to first screen them in some type of ways so you can identify if it's worth wasting your time driving them around because you know that you don't get paid until there's a closing or whatever. So it's like you can waste a bunch of time driving them around Miami and then and then they don't even approve, like, they don't even qualify for a loan, something like that. So proof of funds is the first thing that I show. I think that's the most straightforward thing to show. And second, I mentioned that I'm willing to give that extra commission. So if you're an agent that is representing a seller, You know that you'll get 1.5, 2%, 3%, depending on what disagreement you have with the seller. But with me, you get double the commission. So you're basically doing the same amount of work for double the commission. Or sometimes you don't even have to do double the work. Sorry, you don't even have to do the normal work, because since we've done so many deals, we already know how the process works. So we really don't need anything from you as a listing agent. We just basically do everything for you. I mean, everything, because it's gonna be a simple transaction. It's gonna be a cash transaction. There's no financing. There's no nothing. Like, I don't even need to go to the house every day of the inspection or anything like that. That's the second. And the third thing, the third thing that I offer too, or yeah, I would say we offer this too a lot, is that I let the agent represent us on the listing side too. Like when we actually sell the property again. So that way you can get 6% commission plus the listing.
3%.
So exactly. So like
you're rolling in 9%.
Exactly.
And that 3% on. Sorry. So you're getting the 6% for first representation, representing seller and buyer, which would be you. Then you get the listing on the back end. Now the listing on the back end is going to be more expensive than the listing when you first sold it because of the renovations.
Exactly.
So you're making quite a bit of money. You could call it 9%. That's a good deal. That's a lot of money for a realtor. So that's quite a bit of benefit right there.
And this is something that I haven't done too many times, but I did it once. When we put the property on the contract, I put that part of the agreement is that even if we don't close on the property, we're gonna pay for the commissions. So you know how you put a deposit when you are buying a property? Part of the deposit was going towards the agent commission. So let's say that something happened that we didn't end up buying the house. The seller keeps the deposit, plus the agent keeps their commission. So that way they know that we're serious and we're not fucking around. You know, like if I'm willing to put a hard deposit on a property, and if we don't close, you're gonna still get your commission. They know that they're gonna be safe and their seller is gonna be safe. So the point is that we want to provide value, because we know that there's a bunch of people investing and there's a bunch of people that are asking for the same thing that we do. So I try to provide as much value as possible. And at the same time, you know, I try to build genuine relationships, because I'm not here for just a few months. I literally want to invest in Miami for the rest of my life. So, and I'm 22 years old. So
you got a long life ahead of you.
Exactly. So I can't fuck around with anyone. I can't play dirty with agents, because I know this business, a lot of people play dirty, and especially in Miami, you know, I've seen that happen to me and to other people. So I just try to take care of my reputation and how I do business. And yeah, man, that's why I think we can provide value.
That's awesome. So a couple of unique points there, which I think are going to help you stand out. Now, behind the scenes here, we were talking about your Vegas story, right? So can you go through, did we touch on that already or no?
No, we haven't.
So let's talk about your Vegas story and how you learned to do all this, because I think a lot of people are in the same scenario. They want to get into real estate. They haven't figured their way yet, and they're interested in starting.
It's a story about taking risks and not caring about whether you fail or not. You just want to do what you want to do, and you do what has to be done no matter what. So when I moved to Miami for the exchange program, I was a year in the exchange program, and then I had to go back to Puerto Rico to finish studies. But I like Miami so much that I wanted to stay here. So that was May, right? That the school year ended. And then on August, I have to fly back. But what I did instead, I applied to FIU to stay like officially a FIU student. So from May through August, that summer, I was preparing to go back to college, but I was gonna stay in Miami. But at the same time, I had a face-to-face conversation with myself about what I really wanted to do. And deep down, I felt I don't want to say that I felt bad, but I was feeling that I was lying to myself the whole, like, the past 4 years. I was like, bro, like, this isn't what you really want to do. Like, you're lying to yourself. You're just letting yourself go with the flow of life, and you just believing on what everyone is believing in, which is like the traditional path of college and whatever. And to be fair, that's what I was taught, and that's what you can see everywhere that you go. Everyone is like school, high school, college, 9 to 5, and that was ingrained in my brain. But I was not happy. I was not happy because I knew that I wanted to do other things, and I had this delusional thought that I had higher potential and that I was better than just settling down for what I've seen throughout my life. So that sparked me an interest of going back to real estate and learning more. So I started buying books from Bigger Pockets. I started watching podcasts. I started going through YouTube and seeing other people doing what I really wanted to do, which at that time was flipping houses, which is what I do right now. Um, so I was basically learning by myself through YouTube. Like it was YouTube. Now,
You gotta grind YouTube. Like I grinded YouTube. Everybody grinds
yeah,
YouTube. Like it's just a part of the process when you're a
yeah.
self starter. Is like you're gonna spend sometimes 8 hours a day just grinding YouTube videos. So how I would do it. Tell me a little bit about how you did it. But I would watch a YouTube video and I would write down my questions from that YouTube video. Then I would go and search those specific questions because if you search the right questions and ask the right things, you're gonna get deep enough to where it's like, oh, like this is the real thing that I was looking for, not just this surface level YouTube stuff that everybody talks about.
Exactly.
But the content that's super niche like that doesn't always get tons and tons of views because it's such a niche and specific question that many people don't even know to ask the question. So it's like you got to go real deep in that rabbit hole, man. Like you got to go deep down there.
And the funny thing is that real estate is not a sexy business. I started learning and I saw people doing business, at least in YouTube, right? I saw people doing a bunch of money and doing a bunch of things. And I was like, but why isn't this content popular? Like these people are teaching you how to do $50,000 per month for free in YouTube. How is this not popular? But then I realized that it's just not sexy. It's not just cool as other things, like as, I don't know, like if like
people want to be entertained.
Exactly.
They don't want to learn. They want to be entertained.
Exactly.
And like, particularly the masses and the people that are just comfortable in life, that are just chilling. Like they're just stagnant. They're just chilling. If it's not entertaining, man, it's over.
Exactly. At least for me right now, how I approach social media is for two things. It's like educational purposes and to inspire myself. Like, I like to watch successful people in YouTube, so that way I can be inspired by these people, and then that drives me towards that motivates me when I don't feel that motivated. But like I was mentioning, that summer I started educating myself, educating, trying to learn the most thing that I wanted, but at the same time I was really serious about it. So what I did, I basically enrolled in a $10,000 course that I saw through social media, which
Ryan Pineda.
Yeah, shout out to him. Then I met him and I told him the story, and he was like, "Bro, like no way, I really." But I enrolled in his program, but what really provided me immense value that it was that when I was in that program, which was virtually, so I was still in summer, I basically spent all the money that I had in this program.
Hold on, I do have a question. Was his course good? I heard a lot of people like were super pissed off at the course or something.
I don't know why people say that, but it's like everything, man. Like when you were in school, there were people that were top in the class, and there were people that failed. It's the same thing, Like I don't think it's like the course itself,
Community,
the community. I mean, like it's in you, Like if you really want to learn something, like there was people, and there is still people in that community that were successful in the business, and then they were doing like that's what I really paid for. I how I approached it was that, okay, there's this community of people investing in real estate, and there are people that have done multiple deals. So I didn't even really care about like learning how to do it. I wanted to learn. I wanted to meet those people because they were willing to help you. So how I approach this type of courses is like, okay, have you done what I want to do? Yes. Are you willing to help me? Yes. Okay. How much do I have to pay you? 10,000. Okay. If I pay you $10,000, are you gonna teach me everything? Like I'm willing to do anything that you told me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, but you have to promise me that you're gonna like teach me. Yes, okay, let's do it. And that's how I approached the class. But there were people in there that they just hop on the meetings, and they were waiting to
For the
for someone
magic
to
bullet or like the magic wand to be like waved for them.
uh-huh, and like
Yeah.
you can't wait to be spoon fed in this type of businesses, because
Yeah.
think about it, like you are learning how to do 50, 100, even $1 million, and you expect people to spoon feed you how to do that. Like they are way better off doing themselves that $1 million rather than teaching you how to do it. Or I mean, yes, they teach you how to do it, but they're not gonna do the things for you.
Yeah.
They're just gonna tell you how they did it, and you just have to copy them.
I always liked Ryan Pineda, so I was curious about the course. I had never bought his course, but I followed him on social media for a long, long time, and I know that there was a big discrepancy. Like some people really enjoyed the course and some people didn't. So that's why I was curious on your take, but I appreciate you explaining that. I think that stands true. It's called Pareto's Principle, the 80-20 rule. 80% of people do 20% of people do 80% of the business, and the other 80% of people do 20% of the business.
Exactly.
It's always the top people, no matter what.
Exactly. But like I was mentioning, right, when I enrolled in that community, which was virtually, I met this guy through the community called Ray Rodriguez, which is one of my best friends. I consider him like a brother right now. And we connected because on his profile, he had a Puerto Rican flag. And I was like, yo, like I texted him first, and he asked me, yo, are you from Puerto Rico? And I'm like, bro, of course I'm from Puerto Rico. Like I'm born and raised there and whatever. And then talking to him, he explained me, he was explaining his business. He was flipping houses and all that in Vegas, and he was doing great. And I was really impressed because he was at the time 23 years old and was doing a bunch of business, and I connected with him a lot. And he was like, hey dude, like if you're really serious about business and about doing this, I'm willing to teach you everything that I know. And I was like, bro, let's do it. What do I have to do? And he invited me to go to his office in Vegas. He told me like you can you can come to Vegas, stay here, whatever. And I basically at that time, like I mentioned, like all my money, all my cash, I put it into the course, so I had zero money. And then this guy is inviting me to Vegas, and he's promising that he's gonna teach me. And I was like, damn, dude, like should I do that? And college was about to start in like a month or something. And I was like, fuck it, like what do I have to lose? Like I don't really care. I had credit cards, so I was like, well, I have like I don't know, like a 15,000 credit limit on my credit card, so I think that's enough to live in Vegas for a month. So I book a flight, I book a hotel for like 3 weeks, and then I was living at the hotel for 3 weeks while I was Ubering every day to Ray's office. And in exchange, he was teaching me everything that he knew. He literally walked me to every part of his business. I worked there too. Like I was actually working and helping him in other things for free, of course. And he taught like he literally taught me everything. Like I learned everything that he was doing, and I literally applied that same principle when I came back to Miami. But at that time, I took that big offer risk because I really didn't know that guy that much. I was racking up credit card debt. I was like, I don't know, like I spent probably like almost like $10,000. I think I did, at this point, I don't even remember. But I was like, my net worth was negative. Like I was negative $10,000, let's say, to put an amount. And I learned everything. When I came back to Vegas, to Miami, it was like a Saturday, let's say. Monday, I started implementing everything that I learned in those weeks with a partner that I met, and we agreed to do a partnership for a few deals. And bro, there was a Monday that we started. On Friday, we got our first deal, which was a 55 plus community condominium in Century Village, and we put that property on the contract for 140. And literally it was that same day or the next day, I contacted an investor that I met through an event, and I didn't flip that one. I assigned the contract at 190. So literally
50 bands like that.
50K. At that time, I had to split that profit to my partner and then to Ray. But that was proof of concept, and I was like, bro, we just did $50,000 in a week, basically. Of course, the deal closed like a month after or whatever, but like it just took us a week to do $50,000. So I was like, bro, like let's do 10 of these ones a month, and then that's how the business started, because I was willing to take that risk, and I didn't have any fear of what could go wrong. And right now I even have less fear than I had before, because um life is about taking risk and just try to get like for me that was a fun experience. For me that was a great experience on how I
It's a
started in
thrill.
real estate.
It's a thrill, right? Like you go in debt 20 if you're screwed if it doesn't pan out.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are in the same position. Like, take that risk, take that jump. You're gonna come out fine. It's okay. Like you're gonna be okay.
And here's the thing, like if you are working, like I don't know if you're working a 9 to 5, you're in college, I don't know, whatever it is that you're doing, like, and you're thinking about taking that risk, think about what happens if you don't take that risk. Like, if you don't take that risk, like, you're just gonna stay the same way that you are right now. And if you take that risk and you fail, then you're gonna go back to where you are right now. So in both cases, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
like you're just gonna go back to where you are right now, and that's okay. Maybe with a couple of, I don't know, like debt or whatever, but the opportunity that is there, like it's there, and there's no competition. Like, yes, for example, here in Miami, yes, you might think that there's a bunch of investors, whatever, but bro, like the majority of them are not really doing any deals, and the majority of them are not really that consistent, and the majority of them are lazy. They are distracted. Like Hermosi says on a reel that I like to watch every week, that I have saved on my phone. He says, like, your competition is lazy. They are distracted.
Send me that reel and I'm gonna put it on the screen right here for the audience.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
I'll send it to you, but because like I really think that is true. Like, it's like, for me, it hasn't been that hard, and for me it's still impressive. Like, I don't want to say this to brag or anything, but like for us was really simple to do almost $500,000 in a year. Why? Because we just showed up every day. We were making the calls. We were responding. Like in real estate, bro, like if you just answer your phone every time someone calls, you can get business. It's as simple as that. And not look, like, bro, I think that I probably call, like I also have a team, and I think we probably call like more than 500 agents per week.
Do you have somebody from like Upwork or Fiverr calling?
No, I have a friend that used to go to college with me, and now he's working with me. And I have a guy in Venezuela and 2 girls in Colombia doing calls for me. Like they're working virtually. But what my point was that we actually make like 500 calls per week, but out of those 500 calls to agents, by the way, only like 100 agents answer the phone, and I'm like, bro, like, if these people make money, like if they answer my phone, they're gonna make money because I'm a buyer, and they're not answering the phone. I'm like, bro, like what the heck, like.
Are you calling listings that are active on the MLS, or are you just cold calling?
Yeah, well, at this point we're doing both, because at the beginning we were just calling agents that we saw their listing on the MLS. But because we've been doing this for more than a year, we rack up like this contact list, like this. I mean, like if we're looking at 50 listings per day and we keep that contact, we can call them later on our CRM, right? So that's how we are calling 500 agents, because the majority of those agents are the agents that we have on our CRM that we have previously contacted a year ago, let's say. And yeah, that's basically what we're doing. But the point is that like it's not that hard, and I think that the most privileged people right now are the youngest ones. It's not that if you're old you can do this, but I mean, like, if you're young,
you have time.
You have time. You the most valuable asset it's time, and then, like, if you're young, you're better off trying your best to do the biggest thing possible, because you don't have kids, you don't have a big debt unless you have. But even if you have a big debt, you still are 60, 70, 80 years from dying, so you have a bunch of time to do things, so that's, I think, the number one topic conversation that I have with my friends is or at least that I like to have and that I like to talk about is how young we are.
100%.
and how much opportunity there is and how much risk we can take or not. Like think about it. You can like you're 27, 28,
37.
27. Like bro, you can fuck up in life for the next 5 years and you're gonna still be 32 and you're gonna still have a bunch of time to do whatever the fuck you want.
100%.
You know? And that's
100%.
5 years of your life, bro. Like 5 years is a bunch of like think about all the things that you can do in 5 years.
100%.
And you can't do that when you're 50, 60, you know?
There's it's in my office right now, but it counts my life in weeks. So there's 52 weeks a year, right? So every week that passes, you color in one square and it takes you up to 100 years of age. So I always color those in and I'm like, man, we got a lot of time left, but it also goes by quick. But I think just putting the time that you have into perspective is great. Also knowing that you sleep a third of your life, right? So if you live till 100, you're really living until you're 67. You know what I mean? That's the time that you have awake. And if you're in your 9 to 5, chop another third of that off. So then you really got 33 of like 33, 35 years, whatever, of free time, you know? So it's like breaking it down like that. It's crazy, man. It's important to understand. But yes, us being as young as we are, Gary Vaynerchuk always talks about not even starting till he was 34. Like
That's
he didn't,
crazy, right?
like he's like, I feel so young, and he's like 50 right now or something, like late 40s, whatever. He's like, I feel so young. If all y'all young kids knew what I felt like right now, you wouldn't be worried at all.
I mean, like, I like what Gary Vee talks about, but I kind of disagree a little bit with him on that point, you know, because I'm like the younger you are, I mean, no matter how young you are, you know, like no matter how old, how young, whatever, like you just have to start today. And if you are a freak of let me see how I phrase this the correct way, but
Freak of nature.
no, like, okay, so I know Gary Vee says that if you're young, you have to chill, like, hey, chill out, you know, you don't have to be successful today. But at the same time, I think you should, because like if you try,
You still need to have urgency.
exactly, I really like having that urgency, because like bro, think about the biggest people. I mean, I like to think about in my industry. So when I think about the biggest people in our industry, like the CEO of Blackstone, the CEO of Starwood Capital, all those guys, they are where they are today, but that got like they spent a lot of years in their life. Like Stephen, he founded Blackstone when he was 40 years old. He's 77, 78, something like that. So my point with this is that the sooner you start, the sooner you get where you want
You'll
to be.
reap the rewards. Yeah, exactly.
So
100%.
So that's where the urgency comes from, no matter what age are you.
100%. That's a good take, man.
So you've been in Miami how long? 3 years?
3 years.
And you mentioned that you haven't invested here only, I mean, this house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I did a flip before I got this house.
oh, nice. Where?
Like Coral Terrace, which is right over there by the Children's Hospital. Shenley Park, it's called. We weren't cool enough because we couldn't afford Coral Gables, but now we got like cool enough to come into Coral Gables.
Nice. And how that flip went?
Bought it for $710, sold it for $900 cash.
Nice.
Pretty
Nice. You put too much rehab into it?
40 into it, I think. 40.
Oh, that's nice. When was that?
October we bought this, so we closed on the same day.
Nice. I now I remember that I wanted to ask you something. What's your goal?
What's my goal?
What's your vision?
To run a multifamily fund.
Nice.
Just like everybody else in real estate. Everybody's got that same goal. But yeah, to run a fund and take it to the highest level, right? Like I really want to scale out on units. Like this house is for my family, right? I would live a very happy, amazing life living in this house for the rest of my life. So I can see it that way. Will it happen? Probably not. I'll probably flip it. I think I'm going to make $1 million off of this, and I bought it for 2.2. It'll probably be worth 3.2 once the Citadel plans get approved. You know what I mean? So I'll make $1 million right there. So I'll probably end up selling it, but like I'm comfortable here. You know what I mean? Like great neighborhood. Schools are close by. We got the pool. We got the entertaining space back there. So I'm set on this side. So I will never buy another single family home again in my life. I have 3 up in Wisconsin, then 3 unit and 2 unit. And I want to scale up in units. Grant Cardone talks a lot about mitigating risk, and the more units you have, the more risk you mitigate. Because if one property is vacant or one unit is vacant, you still on a 10 unit property, you still have 9 other people paying that income. On a house, you lose all the revenue if it's vacant, right? So like, kind of moving into that space is really where I want to go. And
I have a friend that he's right now one of my best friends too. He invests here in Miami. Bro, he has like 110 units, and only 2 of them are single family. And the main reason he tells me the same thing. It's like bro, like if something happens, or which happens, like people don't think about that when they buy a rental property, but when shit happens that the tenant vacates the property or whatever it is, 100% of my revenue stops. Now, if I have a 4-plex or a 10 unit. He just bought a 10 unit, right? Like if one tenant like vacates or whatever, then only 10% of the revenue shuts down, right? So, yeah.
My mom's getting into this space right now. She just closed on a 50 unit building. So she's just years ahead of me, right? Like I said, I'm second generation. So she's years ahead of me, but seeing what she's doing, she has a ton of single family homes too. Like a ton. Nice. I'm talking like, I don't know, maybe like 50 or 60 or something, but all over the place, right? And the management is tricky too. So you have the management overhead. Then you have, if a vacancy is up, you lose all your revenue. So she's now condensing, and it's just at scale, it's such an easier process. And you can flip a 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 unit building the same way you flip a house. It might take a little bit longer, but the upside is a lot. You're going to be talking about millions of dollars of profit instead of a couple $100,000. So I think the natural progression of everybody in real estate is to kind of head that way.
Exactly.
But very few people get there because of the commitment, the capital, the connections you have to have, the risk, the mental fortitude that you have to take on a risk like that while also having kids, for example. Like there's a lot that plays into it. But I think everybody's goal in real estate is do the big stuff or do the luxury stuff.
And something that intrigues me a lot about really wealthy people, like not millionaires, like billionaires, is that if you think about it, like let's say you are worth $50 million, right? Like at that point you're very comfortable in your life, you know, like you can live in a nice house, you can drive nice cars, you can have kids going to a nice school. So I'm really curious always about like what goes through this billionaire's mind when they're like good in life and being worth 50 million. That like what's the spark in their mind that makes them go through from 50 million to $1 billion? You know, because think about it, like your life doesn't change.
Your life doesn't change. You're right. Like once you get to a certain point of money, it's like, okay, I fly private. I have the Ferraris. I have a massive house.
But then it's hard as fuck to go from 50 to $1 billion. So like, why would you try to do that? You know, like, why would you try to go from 50 million to $1 billion?
I think it comes back to a lot of like the complacency thing, right? Like once you get to that point, it becomes an enjoyment, right? It's about enjoying the process. Now, I'm obviously not worth 50 million, so I don't know. But from what I've heard people say is like, dude, what else are you going to do? Just sit there and do nothing?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you're going to get Alzheimer's and pass away. You know, like you got to keep your brain alive.
Exactly. So literally I've tried to train myself because like think about it, like that thought is gonna appear to you. You know, like when you are 50 million in net worth, you're gonna think about that same thing. You're gonna be like, do I really want to push and try to be a billionaire and run this big multi-family fund? Because my life is not gonna change. Like my day-to-day is not gonna change. Now, what is gonna change? Well, maybe you need a bigger team. Maybe you
can impact more people. I feel like a lot of people take pride in how many employees they have because that means you're helping those people. So like, man, it's different. Have you ever you have employees right now, right?
Yeah.
It's different when you have to hit payroll.
Yeah. And
it's a lot of stress, a lot of leadership involved. And these people are depending on you and you're changing their lives and you talk about their goals. Like it becomes okay, if we want to be in this partnership or if we want to work together, how can I help you achieve your goals? So I think a lot of people live that way. It's like, oh, I have X amount of employees.
Exactly. And let me ask you, so if you want to run a big multifamily fund, right? What do you think that you need in order to do that? Like what type of skills, and how will you prepare for that?
Connections, bro. I feel like I have the skills necessary from reading, and like I've raised capital via promissory notes or partnerships with investors. Like I've done everything already, just not at that high a level. And I think I'm missing those connections.
And what do you think is the most important part of reaching that level? Do you think that you need more deals? Do you need to first try to raise more capital? What do you think is the next step?
Like I said, I just think it's gonna be meeting the right people, because like you said, like you can go buy property with 0% down or whatever, or like I could go and put 5% down on a $5 million purchase and then raise the other 20 to 35% depending on what you need to bring, and co-GP partnership that out and then operate the business, right? So like I think the big thing is just going to be like meeting the right people, finding the right connections, and yeah, that's kind of where it's at.
My plan is I want to keep raising more money to do more flips like that, and then that way, if I keep raising more money and do more projects in single family, which is not my main goal, right? But if I just really learn that skill the best way possible, and then I have people investing with me that are like my clients, that way I can learn that skill, which is basically like we were talking before, is the same thing. Like it's just now that I'm not raising 50, 100, 200, I'm now raising 1 million, 2 million, 5, $10 million, right? So if I can start developing that skill, and then the people that are investing money with me, even if it's a smaller amount, by word of mouth or by track record of building and doing successful projects, then I can bring more people at a higher net worth. Because at the end of the day, like if you really have a $10 million fund, like you're gonna get deals, you know. So I don't know. That's my plan.
100%, man. That's awesome. Now let me ask you this: so when you flip these properties, are you paying capital gains taxes?
Yes and no.
That's the big problem with flipping. I feel like you're on short-term capital gains, which is what, 35%, 40%.
Here in Miami, it's 30 something. Yeah. It's like 30 something. Now, that's when you write off a bunch of things, you know,
Yeah.
like for example, me, I mean, I'm only a year into it, you know, and a bunch of my of the profits I try to reinvest it in the business. So, for example, I can pay, I don't know, let's say like 40,000 in capital gains taxes, or I can hire someone or 3 people. Plus, I can invest more in marketing or shit like that, you know. That's gonna be a problem that I have to jot down this year. So that's what I'm thinking.
If you hire those people, though, you have to turn more, right? So let's say you hire those people, and you're spending that money, you're sending it out via salaries and whatnot to get the deductions. Where are you saving that cash and like accumulating that nest egg? Does that make sense?
So you mean like what happens when you are reinvesting the money and then you get more money? Like what are you doing with the actually profit?
Yes.
Well, that's a problem that I will have to try to solve now. But I guess like everyone, I will have to buy properties, you know, and keep 100%. Them. Like I mentioned,
1031 exchange.
Exactly.
Or put it in a trust.
Exactly. But here's the thing: like I don't want, like I've had the option of buying properties for rental, and let's say I keep a flip for myself, and then I refinance the flips to get the investors out, and then just rent that flip. But I don't want to do that. Like I want to do the most amount of money possible so I can reinvest it in other types of ways rather than just in a rental property. Now, of course, I will have to do that eventually, right? And I'm just a year and a half into it. But
so you're building your nest egg right now. You're building up your bank account to have a couple 100,000 so you can go get that big deal.
Exactly.
And then partner with somebody on that big deal.
And basically, I prefer investing that money into other things rather than a property, you know?
Sure.
Like I mean, rather than a rental property, because I don't want to leave any equity in the deal. And I mean, it's it's smart to leave equity on a deal, because that's what your net worth is or whatever. But if I can invest that money, like we were talking before, like if you can take those to 250,000 to invest it in whatever it is, that marketing or whatever, I would prefer that now. Now when when I'm older, then things are gonna be different,
It'll
right?
change, yeah.
But as of right now, I'm reinvesting everything into like systems, marketing, employees, because that's what has bring me results. Like my first deal was 50,000, but my first 6 months, the average was like, I don't know, like 15, 20,000. Now it's like 30. And then why? Because I've been reinvesting. So I'm like, if I leave that money in a rental property, I can't reinvest it, and then I can't do more money. But if I keep reinvesting on people, and bro, I've paid coaching programs, and I've paid like other coaches to teach me different things. And that actually has helped me in different ways on the business,
Sure.
It's not only reinvesting like marketing and processes and systems or whatever. It's also investing in myself, in coaches that help me, because the only like the business is capped by its leader, like the best the leader, the best the business. So I need to invest in myself. So if I'm better, then my business is gonna be better.
Have you studied John Maxwell at all? You know who
I
that
know
is?
who he is, but I haven't.
Leadership. He has some good books. You just said something. There's a glass ceiling on the leader, and that
Exactly, yeah.
glass ceiling is only as high as the company will go because
Exactly.
the leader's in charge.
Exactly. So that's why I invest. I have a business coach right now, and we talk about. I mean, we talk every week, and he helps me in a bunch of ways.
That's
She helps
amazing. Awesome, bro. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
Awesome. Where can the audience find you? I'm going to put this on YouTube here. So below under the video description, where can they find you?
Well, first and the easiest part, the easiest is Instagram. Carlos Gonzalez Investing. Gonzalez is with 2 Z's as in zebra. Investing. Carlos Gonzalez Investing in Instagram. And in YouTube, I have my podcast called Self Investor Podcast, which you're gonna be a guest there. Self Investor Podcast, and my YouTube channel is called Carlos Gonzalez. So that's the best way to reach me, Instagram or YouTube.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I think we provided some good value. Hopefully,
Sir.
they think that's the case.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great to meet you.
Sir.